And yeah, I can appreciate, again, you talked about Twitter in your book, but sometimes it's like, how much of this do I take in and how much do I ignore? It's a really hard thing to balance, especially with someone where as you talk about in the book as well, you shoot to fame and nothing can really prepare you for that. And I think you've handled that quite well. And I really appreciate how you articulated that in the book.
Thanks.
Of course. And I have another audience question here. This is from one of my three sisters, Ellen, who submitted. So shout out to her. She says, Jonathan works with individuals on Queer Eye of various generations. What common ground do they think exists within these generation gaps? And what are the blind spots they've observed in their interactions with Gen Z, millennials, and Gen X?
Wow, that's a really good question.
She's pretty smart.
You know, I just don't think I can categorize it like that because, sometimes I want to say like the kids are all right, like young people really have it together, but we also see like there's a large amount of like conservatism in young kids in certain pockets of the United States. There's still a lot of young people who don't know and have honestly been failed by the education system and like have not had the opportunities to learn. I'm talking a lot about in states that like have like abstinence laws in the like as far as like sex education. So we just have rampant issues with young people and like not knowing how to protect themselves and not knowing how to live adult lives that are safe and healthy for them and productive because we're not really preparing our kids for a future, especially queer young people, to be able to protect themselves. And that's why I went through so much of what I went through. And that's why I feel that it's important for me to talk about that because I went through so much and there's nothing about not talking about LGBTQ issues or safe sex or societal issues. There's no amount of not talking about that that's going to make those things go away. So we have to empower people with knowledge so that they can make the best decisions for themselves and not pretend like it's not there. And so I think that's really important. And so whether it's older people, there's some older people that really have it together and really know and really get it. And there's some younger people that really do. And there's some in all of those categories that really, really don't. So I think what our biggest areas that I could say collectively is, and myself included, is that we are not really showing up for each other. We are going into our own camps and we are refusing to have conversations with people that we disagree with. And because of that, we are just not building bridges. And we really need to build bridges to each other. So if there's someone in your family who is like really conservative and they are just fully entrenched in their ways and we have cut them off and we're not talking to them anymore, it's like, how can we reach back out? Or if it's not those people that are firmly entrenched, how can we reach out to the undecided people? How can we reach out to people that maybe you just don't really talk about it, but there's a lot of people who just don't know. And we need to reach out and make those bridges because we just don't know. And I think we're all guilty of like kind of staying in our circles and like not really reaching out and trying to make inroads with new folks. And there's a lot of undecided people out there. And this midterm election is like one of our most consequential elections that we're going to have in a really long time. There are state legislators that are literally investigating families for having gender nonconforming and trans youth and seeking mental therapy or hormone blockers, or which are completely reversible, by the way, and completely endorsed and safe by like every single major medical association in America. They're not like easily given. These are choices that are made, highly individualized, specialized choices that are made between parents and kids, parents and their children and their medical professional. And we have state legislators that are charging those parents and those medical providers with felonies right now. A lot of these states want to make these laws federal. That's what the GOP plans to do. Not only that, they want to take away healthcare. They want to like, when you look at what's going on in Florida, when you look at what's going on in Texas, that's the roadmap that they want to make national. When you look at what's happening with Roe v. Wade, that's a huge issue. And these are all results of everyone in every single age group refusing to have conversations with friends and family because it's easier to talk to people about things that you agree with or just go off on someone online. And we got to like have these conversations in real life. And it's because the people that are the most exposed, which is people living in poverty, queer people, people of color, women, gender nonconforming people, those people, and especially the people who have those disabled people, and those people have those intersectional overlapping identities. Those are the people who are the most vulnerable and stand to lose the most in these midterms. And despite the lack of direction and unity that we see across the Democratic side, we all have to like understand what's at stake here and show up in our local elections and make our voices heard and say that we as Americans care about our fellows.